We're watching Jase Mathews today, 6'1.5", 180-pound wide receiver from Greene County in Mississippi. As always, you guys let me know what you think about him. Any other 26, 27 football players you want me to take a look at. So right away with 180 pounds, we're not going to look at that on 24/7. We're not going to look at that on a spreadsheet and be like, oh, Jase Mathews brings such a physical presence to the wide receiver spot. I think that number is either a bit on the lower end or just a bit misleading, because I think this kid brings a very physical presence to the receiver room. And a lot of times when I say, there's the difference between physical being 6'4" versus, just being having that mentality. I really like the mentality this kid has with the ball in his hands, and we'll see it show up a bit later. As a wide receiver, I'm a big fan of the way this kid releases upfield. A lot of times in high school, not the case. We'll see on this clip specifically a bit of a false step, but I think for the most part, those are far and few between with Jase Mathews. Also, really good ball skills. This is a catch that most receivers in the country can't make. And then we also see him do a good job adjusting to the ball. The body contortion, the flexibility. That just checks the boxes with him. Like I said, really big fan of his release. A lot of kids in high school, they're explosive. You have the laser times. That the kids run good 10-yard splits. You see them with the ball in their hands. They do a good job coming upfield then, but a lot of times when you see them in their 2-point receiver stance, they don't do a good job coming upfield. A lot of false steps, just bad coaching, I think, doesn't let them take advantage of their explosiveness. Not the case with Jase Mathews. Everything's very efficient in the first 5 yards. Like I said before, not a whole lot of false steps. I don't think this kid's the fastest kid in the country. I don't think we're going to be talking about this kid as a burner, not a guy that's going to stretch the field consistently. But, when we're talking about within the first 5 yards, this is one of the most clean releases I think we see in the country. We'll see it again and again, but, just no false steps. Everything's upfield for the most part. And then we see the contact balance with the ball in his hands. Really like the physical mentality that he runs with. We'll see it show up a couple times throughout this tape, but this next clip I think is the best release on the tape that we see. It's very hard to separate within 5 yards of a kid like this. This corner's giving him maybe 5 yards, and then Jase Mathews just runs right by him. Very, very subtle movements, I think, and then would have been a walk-in touchdown. Just hung up on the quarterback a little bit. This one's a bit more of a not straight up field release, but with him, this is such a clean fake inside. A lot of times in high school, you'll see these kind of releases. These kids will do these kind of like TikTok type releases where they fake outside, go fake inside, and then go outside. But the problem with faking outside, faking inside, going outside is, if you end up outside, you also fake there. So there's like a 50% chance the corner gets faked into the right spot. A lot of high school kids you'll see do that, and they just waste so much time, dancing. Jase Mathews, it's all very efficient. And then really like the contact balance. Maybe this isn't the clip that I was thinking, but, almost becomes a running back with the ball in his hands. We'll see it. Just gets after it, I think, after the catch. Like I said, not a dude that we're going to be talking about having a sub 4.3 40 time, but I think he does a very good job being very efficient with his movements, kind of getting the most out of the athleticism that he does have. Not going to see him run a whole lot of different routes in high school, and that's not really on him. That's a bit more of, the role he's asked to play in high school. Right now it seems like the game plan with him is either, run forward or get the ball in his hands and we'll be good. And he does a really good job at that. This is an interesting one, inside release this time, does a good job faking to the outside. Again, it's just all very efficient, It all happens within 3-4 steps. And then we see, the ball tracking, the good ball skills. Really like that for him. Here's another one of those split releases. I don't know what it is, because, every time I watch it on other kids' videos, for the most part, I'm not a big fan of it. But with Jase Mathews, I think it just happens so quickly, and there's just not a lot of wasted movement that, it's kind of hard for me to fault it. This is another one. This kid's impressed here. Doesn't even have a chance. And it's not because he's just blowing by everyone, it's hard to blow by anyone, even if you do run a 4.2 just within like 10 yards of the end zone. There's just not enough room to separate. Athletically, that is. To me, it's more nuanced than that. For the most part, catches the ball away from the body. We'll see some clips every now and then where he kind of lets it get to there, but I definitely like this kid's hands away from the body, I think. Something you got to see, if you can't catch the ball, why even bother separating? Man, if this isn't a running back clip, though, talking about finishing the run here, staying on your feet, just adding those 3-4 yards. Really, really like what he does with the ball in his hands. But that was Jase Mathews. Good receiver. You guys let me know what you think about him. If I was off the mark with anything, please reach out. Thanks for watching.